So recently I did a video talking about bad faith arguments and logical fallacies. I gave a few examples that I had made up on the spot, but I realized that there's probably a pretty good place to find actual examples of these logical fallacies. So I checked Lauren Boebert's Twitter. What I learned was that pretty much everything she says on Twitter is a logical fallacy, and I can prove it. So check out this tweet right here. Lauren Boebert says, "When the most liberal Democrats are coming out against Biden's reckless border policies, you know we are in a dire situation. Biden lives behind a wall. We don't." This tweet right here is a perfect example of the logical fallacy equivocation. Equivocation happens when a word, phrase, or sentence is used deliberately to confuse, deceive, or mislead. In other words, saying one thing but meaning another. So when it's poetic or comical, we call this a play on words. But when it's done in a political speech, an ethics debate, or an economics report, and it's designed to make the audience think you're saying something you're not, that's when it becomes a fallacy. This tweet is also an example of a casual fallacy. This is an informal fallacy that occurs when an argument incorrectly concludes that a cause is related to an effect. One example of the false cause fallacy, which is when you draw a conclusion about what the cause was without enough evidence to do so. So when Boebert says, "We are in a dire situation," that's the fallacy. Not to mention she says Biden lives behind a wall. She is probably one of the largest supporters in Congress of former President Donald Trump, who built the wall. That's actually an example of a third type of fallacy within her tweet. The appeal to hypocrisy focuses on the hypocrisy of an opponent. This fallacy deflects criticism away from oneself by accusing the other person of the same problem or something comparable, like hiding behind a wall. Now this tweet. Lauren Boebert says, "Who are the Dems going to blame when they lose the House and Senate? Russia? Elon? Crisis pregnancy centers? Fox News? The American voter? Only one thing is certain. Just like in 2016, the last thing they'll do is look in a mirror and take responsibility." It's so frustrating to watch these people use what they're accused of actually doing and throw it back in our faces. This is another appeal to hypocrisy. She is a part of the largest election-denying group of people in history, and now she's trying to act like the Democrats are the election deniers. Yes, here's the thing. We did not trust the results of the Donald Trump 2016 election. A major part of that is because he did not win the popular vote, unlike Joe Biden. There's a huge difference. She's just trying to take what we've been calling them out on their bullshit election-denying behavior and throw it back in our faces. It's another logical fallacy. Another one of her ridiculous tweets. To the surprise of absolutely no one, Schiff hates free speech. Years ago, even the liberals wanted to protect free speech. These aren't liberals. These are totalitarians. One of the logical fallacies that this tweet contains is known as the hasty generalization. This is a claim based on a few examples rather than substantial proof. Arguments based on hasty generalizations often don't hold up due to a lack of supporting evidence. The claim might be true in one case, but that doesn't mean it's always true. So now what she's done is she's taken the fact that Adam Schiff is against what Elon Musk is doing with Twitter, and she's saying that somehow Adam Schiff represents all of the liberals of all time now. She's saying that even the liberals wanted to protect free speech. These aren't liberals, these are totalitarians. She went from a singular person to plural by the end of that tweet. If that is not an example of a hasty generalization, then I don't know what the hell is. Also, it's an example of a false dilemma or false dichotomy. The false dilemma presents limited options, typically by focusing on two extremes when in fact more possibilities exist. So what she's saying is because Adam Schiff made a statement about something, that now means he thinks all of these other things. It now somehow means he hates freedom of speech in its entirety, which is absolutely not true. Elon Musk just sucks at running Twitter. The false dilemma fallacy is a manipulative tool designed to polarize the audience, promoting one side and demonizing the other. It's common in political discourse as a way of strong-arming the public into supporting controversial legislation or policies. Lauren, this one. Lauren Boebert says, "Democrats have elected a 2016 election denier to replace Nancy Pelosi. Don't let them forget that." Another example of appeal to hypocrisy. Nobody was referring to Democrats as election deniers, even after 2016. That didn't happen until 2020, and she fucking knows that. She knows that. What she's doing is she's taking that accusation of her and people like her and flipping it back around to the Democrats. I think she overplayed her hand here a little bit with this tweet because it's a little bit revealing of how she knows deep down that being an election denier is wrong. She's just accusing the wrong people of doing it. Oh my God, this one. Lauren Boebert says, "Keep up this pace and we'll have nearly 250,000 new illegals by the end of the month. They're coming to your towns, terrorizing your communities, and sponging off your tax dollars. A true crisis." Right here, another example of a logical fallacy known as the slippery slope argument. This assumes that a certain course of action will necessarily lead to a chain of future events. The slippery slope fallacy takes a benign premise or starting point, such as illegal immigrants, and suggests that it will lead to unlikely or ridiculous outcomes with no supporting evidence. That is 100% what that tweet is. This one's not really a logical fallacy, I just thought it was hilarious. She says, "They called you cockroaches. They called you cult members. They called you extremists. They called you terrorists. Today, we call them losers. Hashtag red wave." I think that's hilarious because they didn't get their red wave. I can't believe she didn't even delete this tweet. She probably should have. So this one right here, it's a little short one. She's retweeting a Fox News headline that says, "Biden to deliver unscheduled speech at Capitol." And she tweets, "Let's get ready to mumble." Which is kind of funny because Joe Biden does mumble a little bit, but this doesn't mean anything. All it is an ad hominem attack. It's purely mudslinging. There is absolutely no point to it at all. All right, this tweet. Lauren Boebert says, "Gun owners gave me an A+ rating and endorsed my campaign because of my legislative efforts to protect the Second Amendment. Protecting our God-given rights will always be my top priority in Congress." So, looking through the list of logical fallacies, I think there needs to be one more, called the appeal to religion. This is something that this side does profusely. When she refers to our Second Amendment and then says protecting our God-given rights, what she's saying is that God gave us our Second Amendment rights, and that's simply not the truth. People wrote the Constitution, not God. God has nothing to do with our constitutional rights. It's basically a red herring. That's what that is, using God as a red herring. So yeah, there is a valid logical fallacy within this tweet as well. My God, this woman. And this one, Lauren Boebert says, "How could anyone want to raise taxes in the face of a recession? Ask any Democrat. They all want to." Another hasty generalization. That's what that is. She's basically putting it out there that every liberal in America wants to pay higher taxes. I don't want to pay higher taxes. Nobody I know wants to pay higher taxes. She's just using that as a way to demonize liberals in the eyes of her base. It's another logical fallacy. I can only make a 10-minute video and I'm just about there, but I challenge you to go through her tweets and see what logical fallacies you can find, because so far every single one of her tweets that I've looked at contains logical fallacies. And that's why this woman has no business in authority, because she does not ever argue on good faith. She does not present facts, examples, or logic to support her arguments. She just relies on logical fallacies and bad faith arguments.
Republicans are fucking dumb. Republicans are fucking dumb.